A lot of people in India, or at least some, lose sleep over the fact that we haven't developed a large language model. We lose sleep over the fact that companies from outside of India have access to Indian consumers. And therefore, there are also fears that this will have an impact on jobs. For India, jobs are very, very important given the same size of population that you spoke about. Should we be losing sleep over the fact that we haven't yet developed something that is close to ChatGPT or other similar models?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I get this question, not just in India, but in other places in the world. I want to be really respectful in terms of how I address it. I think the reality is that in the world that we are in today, and again, I say this with just the utmost respect, right? There are two countries in the world that have the capacity to build those frontier models at scale. Right now it's the US and it's the People's Republic of China. All that said, this technology, as I've talked about, is akin to electricity. And so at some level, it is less whether you're going to build the frontier model than whether you're going to take that electricity and then build all the things on top of that electricity. And that's why India is just exceptionally well positioned for that. And so this is not this is not social media. It's not an extractive technology. Social media is not coming into India. It's not social media that came into India, generated revenue, and took that out of India, right? This is technology that's going into India for Indians to build for India, by India, of India. You take some of the biggest companies, they're going to be able to build on top of this technology. You take a small business, and suddenly so I was sharing off before we came on camera that I'm traveling with India with my family, my wife. She is a huge fan of Indian fabrics. Think of all the small, what we would call mom and pop shops that build Indian clothes and fabric. With this technology, those companies can suddenly become international companies because they're able to use this tech to project themselves to the world.
How does one address the critical question of what AI does to job markets, to labor markets in countries like India?
What I would say is AI literacy. I mentioned that this is a general purpose technology. I'm going to use one of my favorite historical analogies. This is our generation's version of the printing press. Which countries succeeded when the printing press came out? The countries that built in literacy programs into their social fabric. And so those countries that are able to actually develop AI literacy amongst their population are going to be the countries that are best positioned to succeed. And you look at what's going on. You look at China, which has a program to try to make as many of their people literate as possible. I think Japan has a goal of 80% of Japanese people literate in AI by 2030. India already starts off with a big advantage because of the penetration, because the inherent interest. I do think there's something in the Indian DNA that leans into technology, that gets excited for this stuff. And so you're just seeing it organically happen. Think of the wealthiest person in the world and maybe just a regular person. If they have that device in their hand with AI, they're on equal ground and equal footing. And so for a country like India, which is looking to make the great leap forward, right? That big step into becoming the world's largest middle-class economy, this technology unlocks that. What we've been seeing so far is what you're seeing is that people are using the technology to increase the productivity of their current workforce. Now, I do think as we go forward, right, this technology is not static. It's going to continue to accelerate, continue to get better, continue to get stronger. We think this year you're going to see breakthroughs in health, in science, along with education, and companies building it in. But to your specific question, I do think countries need to think about this from a transitional perspective. That comes back to the literacy piece. Do you start to build in AI training, job certification, those types of programs, not just for kids going through public school, but also for that mid-career person, for that person who's maybe doing a job right now that either if they learn this technology, they're going to be better at that job and they're going to be more valued.